Okay, let's look on the top navigation bar so you can feel a little bit more comfortable and familiar what we have right here. Many times, many of them, it's very similar to all our other applications. Like, for example, if we click on a file, we can create a new one, open, save, look on our recent snapshots. We can also import components or meshes separate. For example, if you create something in a ZBrush, like fruit or other things, you can import from there, or some meshes. You can also export as a mesh, and it's based on what version you have. Currently, I'm working on Plant Factory Producer, which is higher version. Then I can export some items to as a mesh or objects. In some cases you cannot, but right here in export, what interesting things you can send to a friend. So if you work with collaboration of the people, you can send this way, or you can share on Exchange area, so allow other people as well access. We also can export for the cornucopia, which is nice if you're going to sell. If you noticed before, how I mentioned, you can actually make good profit if you sell your plants when you create it. However, quality is required for this. And we'll look how to create realistic plants by using the textures, apply this, and see how we can sellable or have some unique properties for the plants. Okay, we also can export in a view, and you can export as a species, objects, or all other specific meshes. So most time you want export as a species, because that way it's allowed you to create populations for them. For example, you can create different type of the flowers, and they will change edges, time of seasons or size based on this. However, in some case you want to export just as an object. View is the Plant Factory is very interesting because you don't necessarily create Plant Factory. And some of my other tutorials, we created gears, we can create machinery and other things you can create here in this application. It's actually very interesting node-driven modeling software that is allowed you to create very unique objects as well. Okay, we can create component if we need it, and also options to check for update and cancel last updated. For some reason, something you don't work for you, you can always cancel and roll back. Also, this is options what you most time will look. It's options, and this is options we'll look in specific tutorials, go over all of these general preference and operations, included our what is happening, snapshots, you can notice right here, and hotkeys. So we'll look on this in specific, just designate to this tutorial. Okay, next we have edit options, and nice things because everything that you can access by clicking on a button or right click menu or other properties, you can always access from top down menu. So right here we have our active tools, and you can see right here we have a draw, select, dodge, draw once, purge, keep running, so we can cut off some. We can add geometry, same what we in some case can leave it a little bit on our bar or going from side, but right here we have all this additional properties, so we can add geometry. Okay, we can also add draw geometry. You notice the different when we add some of those objects we not necessarily want to draw. For example, hydra when we want, or urge when we want to use it for the base of the flower with going to the petals. Some of them we don't want to draw. So right here we have access to all of these segments and objects. Okay, cut, copy, paste. If you something already copy, we can group, ungroup specific objects, make easy manipulate, undo, redo. New plant variations, which is also using right here, you can see with the kind of dice that is randomized. So it's take some of those basic properties and randomize them. It's help you to preview plant. For example, if I click right here on randomize, you can see it will adjust and change a little bit of this plant, so I can do again. And let's take those basic properties that I enable and randomize them, creating for me a different type of look of plants, so I can see how the species work. I would recommend for you, before you submit or finish with your plant, go and switch several times between different plant variations, because in some cases you may have some unwanted artifacts. Like right here I can see this one I may retouch better because see right this area where the plant pop up on the root. So obviously I need to take and scale down so I don't have some of those artifacts that I don't want it. But overall, you can go again, click over and over and just see if randomization on your plant is look very nice. So it's ready for distribution. Okay. So we have a new variant, and you can delete imported meshes if you have any one of them. The view allowed you to preview in different billboards. You can hide or display branches, boards, and this is helpful when your plant become very complex. So you can actually adjust this. As well, you can show less or show more depend on the resolution. You can also enable through your menu on the top. You can subdivide, add more polygons or reduce them. As well, you can highlight specific selections if you need to identify that selection. And currently right here, you can see I'm highlighting the selections that's set. And all other properties, show node and color plant. That's what I wanted. If you needed, switch to the wireframe. Currently it's selecting display shadows. You can also show the normals if you need it on your plant, which is helpful when you start exporting. So it's help you kind of preview. Okay. And also, okay, let's disable this one. And we have additional preview wind, like on the top side. And some of this most useful one, which you access mostly, they will be on your bar. You can add more if you need it, but overall they will display on a bar. We also can, currently it's enable display grid, show the information if we need it right here. It will show us how many polygons, primitives, if we have any specific leaves or all other properties. Many times when we start working advanced mode, I do like have visibles mostly for the count of polygons, so I know how many we're using currently. Okay, we'll go next to preview, and as well you can show the ruler if you needed to preview specific how tall. Currently it's 15 meters. So this is when we start creating a realistic plant. You want go reference maybe Wikipedia or other areas to the plant, see what is average species height or other things. And it's help you to create more realistic plants that will work properly. Okay, so next, let's actually go back. And you notice in preview, we have more properties options that allowed us global settings. We can zoom on specific section if we need it, close up. And we can also preview on standard and disable automatic updating on preview. If you notice, every time when I modify, it's kind of creating a preview. If your performance too slow and you want to work a little bit harder, faster, you can disable this and just preview when you need it on a render on a click. So it's help you. Also, we have access to our graphs, and currently we have it. We're not in advanced menu. We'll switch this a little bit later, but you can see we can preview display nodes minimized. This is not necessarily where I like it. I like when they enable a little bit bigger so I can preview the names and other things. But sometimes for the smaller screen, you may want to display them minimized as well. And next, we also have options to constrain nodes to the grid, so they kind of lock when we create it. They're not free flowing right here, so they will lock. They also display options, fade control. So all those options will look as we're going to work with them, but just there right here. And same, we can zoom on entire graph or specific segment of this. Okay, next we also have properties with the node. If node is selected, we can also go on this node and we can preview the edit description of this node, which is actually helpful if I have my custom created node. And look, same like we have description here, we can edit this description and modify it. And it's nice when you start exporting plant or specific component for other people to use or in collaboration with other people. We also can minimize in graph, loaded specific pictures on the node, or using current preview as icon, so we can switch of them depend on what you like it your node to see. It's more customization and preview on this. Okay, we also have it, if we have a subgraph, we can close and cancel. And in a gizmo, we can position our gizmo, rotate when we have a gizmo tool is visible. And when we do in advanced mode, we'll look at this. So also we have it now render options. And if you work with the render options, you can see it's something similar to the view before. So you have some options of the render image preview. This is useful if you view plant inside or one preview, like for example with a GPuffer or multipass, how these plants will perform when you export inside the view. So if I want to create my scenery, but I want to be sure my plant, let's have it properly, for example, on multipass, have it properly components and masks, I can create and render here and preview them, be sure they're working properly. So overall, I don't know how much you actually will be render and preview plant inside here, but it is very good for the preparing for the same environment as in a view, so you can see how the plant will look in a real render in your scenery. Okay, so let's kind of going over it, the render option as well. We can resume if you have any pause. Display last render, when you can see right here we have some renders. This is exactly same similar what we have before inside the view, if you're familiar with this, where we can have different images. We can also enable and compare those images. If you render two of them, currently they're incompatible because the system recognizes they're two different ones. And you can save, remove all of your stock if you need it, and kind of be familiar. We'll look a little bit closer on those render properties when we start kind of producing. You also can render animations if you need it for your plant, so you can see how the wind and other, or maybe how your plant is growing or some other effects. So this is give you more visual view on your plant. Display, currently we're working with the basic. However, we can switch to the advanced, or we can create and load and save our own workspaces. Notice right here, and we'll look in the next tutorial about lock workspaces and show panel titles. So we'll look on this, how you can customize this. Below, we have all these panels, which one we can preview and view currently, which is enabled for us. And most of them already enabled. However, we have some node observer, for example, it's hidden, or some other properties on the display. It's not yet displayed this time. And we have our help, where you can see access to specific your licensing information, get started, and all its properties. And when we have it right on us in our get started tab.